But I think we're missing something. It needs a little something extra.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hello guys, it's Alan the Collector, and today we are taking a look at NECA's TMNT cartoon Samurai Adventure Michelangelo and Space Adventure Donatello 2-pack. Now the interesting thing about this 2-pack is that we're finally entering the what if stage of the NECA cartoon TMNT line. And I say that because these guys never actually appeared in the cartoon whatsoever, even though it looks like they did based on the way NECA designed them. So quickly, going over the packaging, we have Samurai Adventure Michelangelo right here, Space Adventure Donatello, and then we have some cartoon renderings of them here on the bottom on their respective sides of the packaging. Because they're in a window box packaging, we also get a clear look at everything they come with, and it looks like it's quite a bit. When we flip it around to the back of the packaging, we just get a product shot of Michelangelo and Donatello, as well as a general read-up of the cartoon and everything else you can get in the line if you are curious. One side of the packaging has Michelangelo in his samurai garb, the other one, Donatello traveling through the cosmos, and then when we flip it to the bottom of the packaging, we know we gotta thank these guys every single time. Let's give the NECA team our flowers.
And money.
Now, I've heard a lot of good things about this set, and I must say I like what I see so far, but it would have been really cool if we could see all four turtles as samurais or astronauts without having to buy this set 4 times. But if NECA insists,
Are you crazy?
maybe, or perhaps an enthusiastic turtle collector such as myself is just happy to oblige. Either way, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, so why don't we go ahead and crack this set open so we can see if it truly is good enough to buy it 4 times. Here we have Samurai Mikey and Space Donnie out of packaging, and I have to say already I'm impressed. For figures that never appeared in the cartoon, they fit the style very well. And I think they come with just enough to keep things interesting. So without further ado, let's take a look at their accessories. Yeah, I like the spread that we get here. We get a Kusari Gama, 1 Chakram, 2 pairs of katana, a Tetsubo, 1 spear, 2 pairs of hands for Samurai Mikey, and an alternate head. While as for Space Donnie, we get 3 pairs of hands, 1 astronaut backpack, 1 astronaut jetpack, and 2 blasters. Starting with our party dude from the past, we have Samurai Adventure Michelangelo here, and I have to say, I love his design. We get a new angry expression for the eyes, as well as a new gritting teeth expression for the mouth. And it's just covered up with this samurai helmet, and I really like the details on it too. It's a very vibrant yellow, but we have touches of orange and black, as well as some gray paint for the head crest to really bring this thing to life. Samurai Mikey here has a peg hole in the back of his head where an orange bandana tail would normally plug into. And that's because this samurai helmet has a peg right here, so now we can plug this onto Michelangelo's head securely. However, while it does do a decent job of staying on, I've noticed that when posing him around, this thing falls off way too easily. So I'm just going to put it off to the side. I really like the way these black panel lines help the armor to stand out, and then we also have touches of black and yellow just to bring those complementary blue and oranges together. We're also getting this hexagonal pattern that we'll see throughout the figure that kind of remind me of the turtle shell communicators. Now the back of the figure mirrors the front, except we're getting these yellow squares here, though we do get some of that hexagonal theme for the elbow armor. We also see some armor for the shoulders. It's molded in orange plastic, but we get some gray paint just to help it stand out a bit. The forearm armor also stands out. I really like the way it's sculpted, and the black and yellow just helps to accentuate that. He is also sporting some fingerless gloves, so while it is molded in black plastic, we get touches of green paint for his fingers, and then we get a little bit of yellow paint just for the armor on top. His armored skirt is molded in orange plastic. We get more of those circular studs painted in gray. The same is true for the back as well. We get more of that baggy blue design for the pants, and then just like the forearms, we have black and yellow for the lower leg armor. These black straps continue all the way to the back of the figure, and then finally we get some black sandals on his green turtle feet. It really helps to complete the look of this figure. But as cool as Samurai Mikey looks, he gets even better with his accessories. So first, let's go ahead and remove his hands, and we'll go ahead and replace them with these gripping hands. Now first up, we have these 2 katanas. These are weapons not normally associated with Michelangelo, but he is a samurai in this case, so we'll let it slide. We'll put one of them down. We have orange and black paint for the handle, as well as yellow paint for the hilt, and some off-white paint for the blade of the sword. It will fit into his hand. There we go. And you'll notice that Samurai Mikey also has double jointed elbow articulation, which we typically don't see on turtles. Unfortunately, not quite useful enough to get this guy in a convincing 2-handed pose. His arms are just a little bit too bulky to get across his chest, but he does come with 2, so let's see how the other one looks. There we go. Fits in his hand easily enough. with a little bit of effort, you can pose them pretty decently. Now let's bring a samurai helmet back in just to help tie the look together. Yeah, I like the way he looks with these. These are pretty nice. Next up, we'll take a look at this chakram. Think of this weapon as a bladed frisbee of doom. Now, from the brief research I did on the Google machine, these weapons really weren't associated with samurais. In fact, the origins of this weapon trace back to India. Certain designs will have bladed spikes, as this one does. It features 5 on the outer circle and then 2 within. And it's all tied together with this yellow handle. So we're just gonna remove one of Mikey's swords here. This weapon is used for throwing. You would just kind of, like I said, throw it like a frisbee or chuck it like a knife. However, as a melee weapon, Samurai Mikey looks really cool holding it. Next up, we have this Tetsubo. This is a war club that was typically used by samurai and popularized in a lot of Japanese folklore. Now, this weapon could typically be made out of wood or iron, but no matter what material it was forged from, one thing that was always present were these circular iron studs on all 4 sides, and it was sculpted to perfection by NECA. We also get yellow paint for the grip. We're just going to take these out of his hands. It will fit in easily enough. Unfortunately, his double jointed elbow articulation isn't going to do us enough favor for him to get this in a decent two-handed pose. You could try, and you would fail. Also, you'll see that his grip is still a bit wide, so it's not going to be the firmest thing in the world. But you put this over his shoulder and he still looks quite menacing. You can have him patrolling around your shelves this way. This weapon could have probably been a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, but as it stands, it's still a pretty unique weapon to add to the turtle armory. Next up, we have the spear. We get brown paint for the handle, yellow paint for the grip on the bottom, and then some off-white paint for the blade. This is the most simply sculpted of all the weapons that Samurai Mikey comes with. However, it is the easiest one to hold. So first, we're just going to take this Tetsubo out, replace it with this spear, and because it's so long, we'll be able to get him in a decent two-handed pose. And now you can have him getting ready to charge into battle. That looks pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. Finally, let's take a look at this Kusari Gama. It's his final weapon and it happens to be my favorite as well. It's essentially a sickle with a chain on it. Now on the one end we have this weight. It's molded in this light gray plastic, but we get touches of yellow and black paint. And then we obviously have a real metal chain. And then as for the bladed portion of the weapon, we have some brown paint for the handle, some orange and black paint for the straps, and then we get some light gray paint for the blade of the weapon. I do want to see if he can actually use it properly. So in a previous video I did on the Samurai Spring Leonardo figure by Fury Toys, I show how the strength of this weapon really lies in this weight right here. So if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you, give it a watch. Anyway, we're gonna see if this figure can use his weapon in the same way. Let's give him some slack. Let's see if we can get him to spin this. He spins it kind of well. Oh, and before I forget, let's take a look at this alternate head. It's a slightly more worried expression that will swap out rather easily with the expression that we have on. So first we're just going to remove this helmet. And the best part is that it's completely interchangeable with the other Turtles in Disguise set, as well as this alternate head that he comes with. So let's do a little bit of swapping. We're gonna pop this head back off, remove this helmet. And I like just putting my finger in it right here and then popping it out like that. Giggity, giggity. Do the same thing. Yes, with just a little bit of swapping, we've completely changed the way these expressions look. With this one, we're getting more of a... While this one seems more like a... We're gonna put this one down. We'll pop this one back on. I think I like it better than the gritting teeth version. It looks like he's giving out a war cry. Let's see what he looks like with his helmet on. Very nice. I think it completes the look. But we have one other head to look at. There we go. I like it. Let's see what this helmet looks like on his head. Not bad. I like the results. So yeah, for a version of the character that never appeared in the show, NECA nailed it. But we've honestly focused on Samurai Mikey long enough. This is a 2-pack after all, so now it's time to go where no turtle has gone before. Ah yes, Space Donatello, back from another adventure. We're gonna put Samurai Mikey away, and now the spotlight is on you. Starting with his helmet, I really like the way it came out, especially this clear dome in the front. It does a great job of not obscuring Space Donnie's head. The back of the helmet is molded in this teal plastic, and then we get these black panel lines just to give it that extra touch of tech and cartoon detail. And then you'll also notice that this figure lacks that two-tone paint job for the most part, and where's the shell?
What, the shell?
I think we've got some cartoon logic going on here, but we do have a peg hole for some accessories that will come into play later. Next, we'll just kind of pop this helmet off, and then you can see Donnie's head. The top half of it is brand new. We get these really cool goggles. They can slide up and down, so that's pretty cool. When we get to the chest, we get some extra pops of color with gray, green, orange, blue, and red. It does just enough to add a little bit of spice to an otherwise simple astronaut suit. We get another pop of color on the shoulders. We get these patches, so I guess this means this is the official flag of the sewers. Just below that, we get these white bands on either bicep, and then when we get to the gauntlet, it's molded in gray plastic, but we get extra touches of orange, yellow, and teal just to help bring out the details. And I noticed something. When you bend his arm, you'll find a hidden button on the inner portion of the gauntlet. Watch what happens. Ooh. Holographic pizza, you gotta love it. There you go. And then when we get to the rest of the figure, we have this gray belt with this hexagon design in the middle with a touch of lime green paint. We get a similar hexagon design when we get to his lime green knee pads. That sculpt actually continues to the back of the knee, which is cool. And then as we get to the boots, they look like they're molded in this teal plastic, but we get touches of white and gray just to help bring out those details. And oddly enough, we are getting that two-tone paint job for the back of the boots, just nowhere else. But now let's quickly go over his accessories. The first thing we're going to want to do is swap out his hands. And while he does come with a pair of tighter gripping hands, I'm going to stick with these trigger finger hands. Now, as for the first of his accessories, we get this backpack. It's a pretty simple sculpt, molded in gray plastic, and then we get this darker gray paint for the top, and then touches of red, yellow, blue, green, and lighter gray. We also get this gray antenna. It doesn't feel very fragile, but I wouldn't stress it too much. When we go to the back, there's not much going on, but we do get this keyed peg, and that's so it can fit right into his back right here. So we'll just give it a press. And I really like how it helps to complete the look. But honestly, if that backpack's not doing it for you, we do get this rocket here. The colors are a bit more tacky on it. We get orange for the main body, and then gray for the wings and the thruster. We also get a touch of gray and black for what looks to be an antenna or possibly a laser here. And then when we get to the tip of the rocket, I like this design. It kind of reminds me of a turtle shell. Now, the interesting thing about this rocket is that we have 3 different peg holes. So I think these 2 are for his hands. So if we go ahead and give him a bend, plug him in like so, you can actually have Space Donnie wielding this like a weapon. It's a bit wacky, but I also think that's just on brand for the Ninja Turtles. Now, if you don't like the way this looks though, we can take it out of his hands, pop his backpack off, and then give this a press. So now we can have Space Donnie flying through the cosmos. Now, as I said earlier, I find that the colors on this rocket are just a bit tacky. They clash with the spacesuit, but it is another option. And then lastly, we'll take a look at his final accessories in these blasters. And I take back everything I said about that rocket.
That's a little tacky.
And it mostly has to do with the color. We're gonna put one of these down. The sculpt is pretty cool. I like how we get these cogs that are painted red within, and we have a touch of orange paint behind that. The main body of this blaster is tones of greens, and then we get some yellow and orange paint just to flesh out the rest of the details. But we do get a peg hole here, so if you have some blast effects lying around, you might want to test it and see if they're compatible with this weapon. And then the event, they fit in his hands, so we'll just do that. So now you can make sure that Donnie is well armed when he's traveling in the cosmos. I still say these weapons look a bit tacky, but I guess I'd rather have them than not have them. So yeah, while Space Donnie doesn't have quite as much going on as, say, Samurai Michelangelo, I think this 2-pack together is still a really nice set. But I know what you guys actually want to see, so no business in keeping you waiting any longer. It's time to get a whole team of samurais and astronauts going on here. So without further ado, let's crack them all open. Alright guys, we have 4 turtle samurais and 4 turtle astronauts, but something tells me you're still not impressed. I think we're missing something. It needs a little something extra.
That's what I'm talking about.
And now, it's time to have some fun. And as you can see, I have a lot of spare heads laying around, so I couldn't wait to get all 4 of my turtles as samurais. But their look isn't complete just yet. What we're gonna have to do is take their bandana tail off. That will allow us to put the samurai helmets on. Not bad, not bad, looking good. I thought that orange would clash against their primary color, but we're not finished yet. Let's arm them up with the weapons that best match their personalities. I thought that the katanas made sense to go with Leonardo. I've armed Raphael with 2 chakram. I've given the spear and Tetsubo to Donatello. And because of the chain, I think the Kusarigama works best with Michelangelo. But why stop there? Here's how they look with the style guide heads. And I have to say, that brighter green clashes against the samurai body. So I think if you're looking for head swap opportunities, your best bet is with the Turtles in Disguise or the Pizza Club head sculpts. Not to mention the hand and the feet don't match. And I highly discourage anyone from swapping out the hands from the Turtles in Disguise or the Style Guide set. The reason being is that the peg for the hand for the normal turtle figures, it's much bigger than the smaller pegs used for these samurai bodies. These ones will fit if you force them, but if you do that, you'll widen that socket and then the normal hands won't be able to plug onto the bodies any longer. But now that we got that out of the way, I have one more combination I want to show you guys. This is equal parts funny and creepy. For those of you who have that Turtles in Disguise set, the human masks that they come with will fit on these bodies. And for good measure, here are just some really fun head swaps. We have Casey Jones, Mutagen Man, the cartoon Slash, and the arcade version of Slash. Before you guys get too excited, most of these heads don't fit. The sockets are just too big, so I've just kind of placed them on, but they do look really funny. However, the arcade version of Slash does fit on these bodies with a little bit of heat. This looks like a really creepy samurai figure, so if you have one lying around, you might want to buy an extra set. And now that brings us to Space Donatello, let's see how many head swaps we can get with this body. And here we have all 4 turtles in their spacesuits. You'll notice that with the original figure, the goggles are a separate piece, so you can swap the expressions out. So that's what I've done with Donatello here. But as you can see, the Turtles in Disguise heads will fit just fine on these astronaut bodies. And just like the samurai bodies, if you want to put the astronaut helmets on, you're going to have to take their bandana tails off. So what do you guys think? Outside of the glare on the helmets, I'd say these heads are perfect with this body. But we've got a few more swaps still. The style guide heads are going to be perfect on these astronaut bodies. And because these head sculpts sit so low, you won't see their dark green necks. Oh, and one other thing to note with Donatello, now that we got this style guide portrait, he most closely resembles the prototype that we saw on the most recent TMNT checklist. These Turtles in Disguise human masks are perhaps the best head swap you can do on these astronaut bodies. And if you can ignore the fact that these hands only have 3 fingers, these basically look like human astronauts. Finally, here are just a few more fun head sculpts. We got a Crooked Ninja Turtle gang member, Mutagen Man again looking like a space alien. Of course, that arcade Slash is going to look great on this body. And Casey Jones. Mutagen Man and Casey Jones' heads are just kind of floating on the necks, but fortunately, once you put the helmets on, it'll keep their heads pretty secure. And guys, these are just the options that I found. There could be plenty more swapping options in your collections if you just experiment a little bit. So if you have this set, go crazy. Start using your imagination and seeing just how many options you can get on these astronaut bodies. Now as for size comparison, Samurai Mikey and Space Donatello both stand just under 6 inches tall, which means they'll be right in the scale with the Lightning Collection Space Rangers and Ninja Rangers. They'll be slightly shorter than some standard sized G.I. Joe classified figures. They're about the same scale as the Marvel Legends. Here we have Spiral, Blue and Yellow Suit Deadpool, Silver Surfer, and the Cosmic Ghost Rider along with his bike. They're going to be dwarfed by the likes of McFarlane's classic Doomslayer, V from Cyberpunk, as well as the Mandarin and Ninja Spawns. Here they are next to NECA's Broken Tusk and Big Red Predators, along with the Prometheus David 8 and Elizabeth Shaw figures. And of course they're going to fit right in along with other TMNT cartoon figures like Chakahachi and Anthrax, as well as Mutagen Man and Dirk Savage. Here they are next to NECA's original Mirage TMNT figures. And finally, here's how they look under black light. Why do I even bother? Now as for my final thoughts, I know I've kept you guys here for a while, but this has been a very fun review for me. The new Samurai body is loaded with detail, and I like all the different weapons we get. And while Space Donnie doesn't give us that much in the area of accessories, I think you're going to have the most fun with all the different possibilities you have with head swaps. Not only did NECA make a spectacular pair of figures, but there's so much play factor when you start mixing and matching them with some other figures in your collection. The bummer is that if you want to take advantage of all the different head swaps and possibilities, then you are going to have to buy multiples of this set. And that's going to hurt your wallet. So I only recommend you do that if you're a real hardcore turtle fan. This pack is going to set you back about $60. So if you haven't done so already, I would go out now and find this set as soon as you can, because I have a feeling pretty soon this is going to be a hard set to get a hold of. But that'll do it for this review. Have you guys bought this set? And if so, how many do you plan on buying? And what was your favorite combination that I made in this review? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share my video if you thought it was entertaining or at the very least helpful. Stick around for a gallery at the end, and as always, collect responsibly.